I'd like to introduce you to a product we're really excited about here at Valuation Metrics called our Quantitative Analytics Tool, which brings to individual investors for the very first time quantitative analytical ability that was previously only available to institutional level investors. It allows you to create strategies based on a composite of individual valuation metrics that have been shown to generate significant levels of alpha. Let's start out by setting our screen parameters. Let's say we want to look at only companies that have a market cap greater than $1 billion and that have a price greater than $5 per share. Now let's go to the main part of our tool, which is our scoring parameters. Right now we have 6 factors to choose from: price to earnings, price to book, price to sales, price to cash flow, EBITDA to enterprise value, and shareholder yield, which is simply dividend yield plus buyback yield. You can change the weightings of any of these factors as you see fit. For instance, you may not want to include price to book in your composite, so you would set that weighting to 0. Or you may want to double weight or even triple weight price to earnings ratio. But for now, let's choose all the factors and make them all equally weighted. And we calculate our composite rankings by first ranking all the stocks in our universe by each of the individual metrics, from least expensive to most expensive. So if a stock is in the top percentile for a particular factor, it gets a ranking of 100. If it's in the lowest percentile, it gets a ranking of 1. We then combine the rankings of all the metrics for each stock and then re-rank the list based on the combined ranking from highest to lowest. So in this example, the highest score a stock could have would be 600 if it scored in the top percentile for each of these 6 individual metrics, and the lowest would be 6. The top decile of the list then represents the cheapest 10% of stocks based on the overall combination of your selected metrics. Now, this type of simple quantitative analysis has a couple of key advantages over the typical screening tools you may be familiar with. For one thing, it won't cut off a stock from your list if it doesn't qualify based on one particular factor, but it scores very well on all of the others. Also, the list generated here is ranked from best to worst, unlike a typical screener, which just gives you a list of results that pass your screening parameters. Now, each of these factors has been shown to generate significant levels of alpha based on empirical analysis over the past 50 years, just on their own. If you had bought the top decile of the cheapest names based on each of these factors alone, you would have generated anywhere from 3 to 5% alpha per year. And when you combine these together, like we're doing here, you can get even better results. This is why we want to run this type of analysis using these multiple factors together. Now let's go to our final criteria, which is our sorting parameters. And right now, the one parameter we have is to sort by 6-month price momentum. Then click on Search Companies, which will generate the list of results below. This particular strategy that you see here is one that was highlighted by Jim O'Shaughnessy in his book, What Works on Wall Street. He found that combining these value metrics with price momentum by taking the top decile of value companies and sorting by which stocks were up in the last 6 months, he found that you would have generated alpha of 10 percentage points per year above the S&P 500 by buying the top 25 names that you see here below. By looking at the top decile of names based on our 6 valuation metrics, you're fishing in a very cheap pond. And by looking at the stocks from this group that have gone up the most in the last 6 months, you see in this column here, you're focusing on cheap stocks that are on the mend. They've turned the corner and they've started to go up. Now, if you want to purchase this portfolio, just hit Copy as Portfolio with the number of stocks you want to include, and we've used 25 there, and that brings you to the rebalancing module, where you can input the amount of money that you want to invest, say $100,000. The commission per trade, say $4.95. And a cash buffer, just to make sure that we don't invest the account due to commission and slippage of our ultimate share price. Let's leave that at 1%. So you then click on Rebalance, and that will populate the table below with the amount of shares that we want to buy of each company. Now by default, this list is equally weighted, but you can change the number of shares, the cost per share, and the commission if you like by simply clicking on the Edit button here. And you can also delete any of the names if you'd like to exclude a particular name from the portfolio. So once done, you can just click on Excel to export it. And we hope to have the functionality to link it to your discount broker so you can just send it directly there as well. And that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this demo of our quantitative analytical tool.